Good Monday morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with a daily technical update. It is the 18th of August and this video is for educational purposes only. There's no recommendation or advice intended whatsoever. It is purely to demonstrate how I try to read the market using technical analysis. And to demonstrate how you can also apply it to your analysis. And today we'll start again with Nasdaq 100 that end of last week, last week, reached just below 24,000, the 138.2 projection of this correction here. And could look a little bit toppish. As we can see, we have divergence on the RSI declining, the values declining where the market moved higher, so indicating a trend exhaustion. If we close back below 23,589, well, then we could be in for a correction lower. Key support still 22,673. Pre-market, really not much has changed. S&P 500 pre-market also set back a little bit, and let's have a look at the index itself. See, it formed, actually it did form a little bit of a bearish engulfing, not the most significant one, but if it closes below 6,427, well, then we could be in for a correction. You can also see there is divergence here on the RSI. So if we remove this one and add a normal trend line, you can see the exhaustion indication, RSI declining, market moved higher. So we could be in for a correction, possibly a little bit lower, and we can then add Fibonacci to it, say, okay, how much could it go down to? 6,315. Let's see. The Dow Jones opened above the resistance here at 45,060, but closed below, which is a little bit of a bad signal. So it could also be a top and reversal indication. Then we maybe have a double top or triple top even in place, 1, 2, 3. But that will require a close below the valley here, the lows here from a few weeks ago. On the Asian markets, Hang Seng, excuse me, and Hang Seng, well, also setback, have bounced a little bit this morning here. It's marginal, but spiked a little bit up. So it's still about 25,176, which is key. If it starts closing this gap here and closes below, well, then maybe that is it, and we could see a larger correction. But we are still above the rising trend line, so still in a bullish trend. Bigger picture. Could it be a double top pattern? Well, it needs to go down to below and close below 24,372 to actually confirm that. And for now, we are a bit away from that, so I don't think so. But to resume uptrends, well, we need it crawl back above these peaks here. And if it does, well, then we are looking for 26,000 plus. On the Nikkei index, well, it has pushed higher. And it's approaching 44,000. Here is the future. Still building up some divergence here, so maybe we are a little bit in exhaustion mode, but still the trend is your friend. And as long as we stay above the lows here at 42,520, well, we are in a bullish trend on Nikkei. In European market that is about to open here, in a European market, well, EuroStoxx50 got rejected at this resistance here at around 5,467, 68 last week. Didn't touch it, just a few cents from it, so we could maybe see a little bit of a setback. And here pre-mark, we can see that it has been rejected again this morning, actually spiked a little bit above, so maybe we'll see a correction down to 5,350, unless it pushes above. If it takes out the peak today, 5,473, this is the CFD illustrates this, then we could see higher highs. Otherwise, very strong resistance there indeed. The DAX, well, it opened above the resistance at 24,445, but closed below, testing this falling trend line there from the other side. And pre-market, Seems like we are a little bit down. We can see it got rejected there. It's falling trend line there on the CFD / the future. And we could see it setting back. So it really needs to take out the Friday spike at 24,536. If it takes out that, well, then we will see bullish trend to be established, and RSI has to close above 60 threshold to confirm just that. But we are not there yet, apparently. So next few days could be very decisive. Can it actually break higher, or will it slide back to 24,000 and maybe below? Moving on to the forex market and euro dollar, that is flirting again with this 117 level here, 117 and a change, 0.786 retracement level. RSI still below 60 threshold, hasn't broken above and closed above, so we are still in negative sentiment. I think if it takes out the lows there at 115.90, just a little bit below that, excuse me, well, then we will see a correction taking it lower, and then if that plays out, we can do this. If it takes that out, well, then we're looking at 115.20, possibly lower. If it takes out the peak here from last week at 117.30, I don't think I would be waiting for close above. Then I think we'll see it also taking out 118 and push higher. Cable or sterling dollar got rejected here just below 136, and this is the level to take out. We actually have the RSI closing below, above 60 threshold there last week. So we are actually technically in a bullish trend. It's just very marginal, as you can see, but it is there. So bullish trend, but again, we could see a correction taking it down to 135, possibly a little, maybe touching the lower part of the cloud there. But we are technically in a bullish trend, although a little bit fragile at the moment. Euro sterling, excuse me. Euro sterling has bounced from the 86 level, very close to the 30.2 retracement at 86.50. I think it could bounce further up to the 61.8 at 86.87, just below 87 there. I think we could see that. But if it takes out the lows here from last week, which is actually just below 86, well, then we will see a sell-off down to 85.5, possibly 85.25. Moving on to the yen pairs. Well, is it forming a shoulder, head, and shoulder formation like pattern? Could be, with a neckline just here rising there, but key support here at 145.75 and the lower rising trend line. However, if it takes out that neckline, and especially 145.75, well, then there's potential down to around 143 level. On the other hand, if it takes out the peak there from last week at 148.52, then this potential shoulder head, shoulder-like pattern has been demolished, and we can see it push higher, possibly again above 150 towards 151. Euro yen that got rejected here at 786 retracement, 173. Bounce from the 61.8 retracement of this uptrend here. So that is the range to look out for. So it's 170.98, well, just below 171, and 173 and a change. That's the range to break out of for direction. Strong support here at 169.70. Aussie yen. Flirting with and testing the 61.8 retracement there at 95.63 several times. To the upside, we have 96.85 resistance. It needs to take out that for a test of a really strong resistance here at 97.30 at 35. You can see it's been tested several times and then knocked back. And the key strong support here at 94.84, so I'll say 94.80. That would be key. So there are a lot of levels here to watch out for. If it takes out the lows here from late last week, we could see a test of this support down there. Sterling yen, well, rejected here again at the 200 level, actually spiked a little bit above. So key will be what will it do. Will it take it out to the upside and push towards 202, or will it slide lower? And if it takes out 198, then I think we can see a push down to read around 197, 196. But a little bit struggling here for to follow through with the bullish sentiment. Aussie dollar correction phase, still negative sentiment on the RSI, didn't close above 60 threshold. So we are a little bit in a limbo here, and it seems like we have some support in the region around 64.80, and if it takes out the peak there at 65.70, well, then there is potential up to 66.80, but it's really struggling at the moment. So not a very good and not a very clear picture, to be honest. Moving on to dollar Canada, that bounced to the 61.8 retracement and then has been set back. There's still this 100 moving average that's really trying to, which is indicating the medium term is bearish. So that's kind of dragging it lower, holding it back a little bit. But I think if it takes out the peak here from the past few days, today and late Friday, then I think we could see a push up to the region around 138.60, 138.80, possibly higher, and if it really gets its mojo back. Positive sentiment on the RSI indicating just that, and we can see it actually broke out of this triangle-like pattern, and testing the falling trend line from the upper side could give potential higher to 139.50, possibly higher. But let's see, there's a really strong resistance in this region here. Sterling Canada, that's pushed above the 786 retracement and pushed even higher. So still a very strong bullish trend. So it's a little bit unusual. It didn't get rejected at that level there, but actually pushed higher. And let's see, will it form a top and reversal pattern here today? If it ends bearish and ends below the candle there, a candle body at 186.83, then we have a top and reversal pattern in place that could mean we could see a correction down to at least a 38.2 at 185.50 area. But if it takes out the spike today, well, then we are looking at 188.30, the peak up here. So a little bit on night saves at the moment, but positive sentiment on the RSI. There's no divergence indicating likely higher levels, so be careful if you try to short it there. Euro Swiss, once again this morning flirting with the 94.50 resistance area. If it takes out the spike up there, as you can see, 94.50, well, then we're looking at 94.90, 95 level. But if it takes out, and I will actually try to do a little horizontal line, say if this is where it crawls slowly up here, if it takes out that 93.89, 93.85, then I think we will see a bit setting back into a correction. But for now, still bullish. But now a little bit of divergence building up. You see this close over here was higher than here, but you see RSI decline. So maybe a little bit exhausted mode, or maybe just taking a breather. We know more at the end of the day. The dollar Swiss is still above key support here at 80 in this range. It's forming like a triangle-like pattern. You can see a little bit of a declining or falling trend line there, very short term, and then you also have a little bit of rising trend line there down here. We could actually add it. I don't know how significant or how much it would mean, but we can see we have a bit of a triangle-like pattern there. So 80 is the key support. If it doesn't break below that, well, then we could also see it crawling higher here towards 81.70. If it takes out 80, well, then we're looking at levels at 79. The dollar index, well, still holding on above the 786 retracement of 97.54. Dipped below a couple of times, but positive sentiment on the RSI. So the picture is a little bit blurry, to be honest. We do have a bit of a bearish trend going on here. and 98.50 key resistance, close above that, well, then we will see it pushing higher towards 100. On the gold, can't really make up its mind what it wants to do. Dip this morning down to the 61.8 retracement at 3,322. Could bounce, but it needs to take out that spike up there at 3,375. If it does, then I think we'll see a retest of the 3,400 and the 3,410 peak here. If it takes out the low today, well, then the 3,300 could come under pressure, maybe even down to the really key support 3,245. So also a bit on night here at the moment. Still positive sentiment on the RSI because it closed above 60 threshold there, bounced off the 40, and if it moves back above 60 threshold, then I think we'll see a higher level. On the silver, that's that back. It's still 37.50 key support for. If it pushes below, then we are looking at levels down here again around 36. But we are in a slight bullish trend, higher high, higher low, higher high. And what will this be? Will it be higher low and then a push higher? If it takes out the spike up there at 38.74, well, then I think we'll see it pushing towards 40 level. But it is struggling a little bit at the moment. Same with the platinum that actually spiked up to 50% of this downtrend there. 1372, 1373, as we can see. I will remove this one there. So, but it is struggling, and we can see RSI flirting with this falling trend line, needs to close above. And I think if we get a close above this spike up there, well, then I think we will also push above 1400 and higher, especially if RSI can close above 60 threshold. That will really further confirm a strong bullish bounce, but for now it's not very strong. Copper. It's just in this big range here. It seems like well, market participant has lost interest, so just basically trading sideways around 450. It's still 433 and 465 to the other side to break out of. On the energy side, WTI crude oil. Still in this bearish trend there, negative sentiment on the RSI. If it takes out the lows there, well, it will continue to the 60 area, possibly lower, but at least to the 60 area. We have these spike downs here where we can see, well, it's around the 60 area spike, a little bit below there. So we are still in this bearish trend. So if it takes out that lower level there, well, then you can delete that. But for now, there's still a possibility for a bounce to the 38.2 retracement. However, it doesn't seem that likely. Brent crude oil, same picture, really bearish trend, could dip to the 62.5 area. On the European nat gas, took out the minor support and the previous lows there from April earlier this year, has pushed lower and seems to be accelerating sell-off. You can see, and there's potential down to 27.90, possibly these lows here around the 30 area, 29 area, and not much stopping it at the moment. So still in a bearish trend, but look out for a bottom and reversal pattern emerging. Let's see about that in a day or two. The US nat gas still in a bearish trend. If it takes out the lows there and 276, then we are looking at 256, possibly 255. Moving on to the interest rates and the yields, we have the US 10-year that has bounced to above the 38.2 retracement, strong support here at 420. So let's see what it can do, but it needs to get back above 440 for establishing a bullish trend at the moment. And we can add this one, so around 440, that's really the key level. Because if it closes above that, then we are above all moving averages, and we will also be above the cloud, and also likely RSI will be back above 60 threshold. So, but we could still bounce up to 435 maybe, and maybe up to 437. But this 440 is really a key, and 420 is the key support. On the European yields, been some movements, interesting movements, and key movements. Late last week, we got the Euro 10-year closing above this spike up here at 277, sitting back a little bit today, but we are in a bullish trend, and there's potential up to around 283, possibly higher 287 in the coming weeks and times. We can also see higher lows here, higher low, higher low, higher low, and higher highs. And we got a higher high here, higher high there, when we are only looking at closing prices, but also if we are looking at actual prices. So we are in a bullish trend on the EuroPay 10-year. Also, the UK 10 closed above its resistance there at 470 Friday, sitting back a little bit, but it has established a bullish trend that could take it higher towards 477, maybe 481 area. On the other hand, we have Bitcoin that has been beaten late last week and following through this morning here or today, and remove this one. So we are now below the 61.8, and we are very close to the 786. Then we have still 112, which is key support to keep an eye on. I will remove this one. So 112,000 is the key support for Bitcoin. Could bounce from the 55 moving average and the 786 retracement, which is currently above. So I think we could bounce a little bit, but 112 key support. Ethereum also in a correction mode, massive divergence on the RSI, as you can see, indicating the top of reversal or trend exhaustion at least, and I think we could see it setting back to 4,100, possibly down to 3,900, which is the 61.8 retracement. All right, that's all for today. Let's see what this week will bring, and have a nice day, and talk to you later.